Argentina get a famous win over the Lions in Dublin. My name's Mark, let's talk rugby. Argentina felt like they had a real chance in the build-up to this one, and they proved exactly why they had that belief. Brilliant performance from them. Lions still, looking a bit like a scratch team. A long way to go for them. So let's talk about the game and then we'll come back to the teams after that. So Argentina attacking early on. Carreras spots space wide left and they whip it out to Mendy, who brings them within 5 meters. They work it inside and up to the line before Finn Smith is pinged. Albanos opens the scoring from the tee, 3-0. Itoje then claims a loose ball. The Lions move it through both of the Smiths, then to Van der Merwe. He goes crashing into the 22 and Lions eventually get a line out in that 22. Cowan-Dickie then comes off the back for the maul and grounds on the line. Referee awards a try, but then we have Timo check and it's confirmed that he lost it and there's no argument on that one. Matera then not supporting his weight and Finn Smith ties us up at 3 points all. Argentina then strike off a line out. They go off the top, set up a ruck in the middle of the field, then quickly wide where they've got numbers. Carreras finds Mendy. He steps inside Van der Merwe and over the score. Conversions missed 8 points to 3. Lions then go to the corner from a penalty. Great chance to hit back. Byrne gives it off the top and they spread it inside. Tuipulotu goes through a gap and under the post, but there were two knock-ons in the build-up. One first was from Argentina, so it's scrum in the shadow of the post to the Lions. They then win penalty advantage at the scrum, but they keep playing. They move the ball left. Tuipulotu gets stopped about 5 meters out. Then they go back right. Some decent interplay, and then a poor pass that kind of made Aki turn away from the try line to claim it. But then he does really well. Shows good strength as he spins and then gets over to score and then does well to ground as well with 3 Argentinians around him. That's converted for 10 points to 8. And one of the reasons why I'm wearing the Connacht shirt tonight is in honour of, Connacht man, Aki, and Mac Hansen as well, who got on in the second half. But yeah, I've got a Lions shirt, but it's in Spain. I forgot to bring it back to the last time I was there. So we won't have any, unless I might get a new one. I'm not sure, because I got some vouchers from my job. And generally when I get vouchers from my job, I buy rugby shirts. So I might get one. I'm not too sure. But yeah, that's why we've got this on. If not, we're going to be cycling through national jerseys and other jerseys connected to players all through this Lions tour. But yeah, Lions winning at this stage. We then have a Timo check for a head-on-head hit on Finn Smith by Oviedo. It meets the yellow card threshold and there's mitigation, penalty only. Pretty fair call there. Although there was one later on in the second half where they didn't even think about it. I think it was on Furlong, where I thought they would have had to think about maybe a card there. Didn't even have a discussion. But I think it was so close to the end of the game that, and it was, even though it's obviously a test match, it was probably the whole thing that it's been a warm-up that they weren't going to look too much further into it. And honestly, that's fair enough. So from here then, Matera gets over the ball to win a penalty for Argentina, and Albanos slots that for 11 points to 10. And Argentina, just every time the Lions come back at them, they're able to go again. And that's really what you need to do when you want to win these kind of games. Then we have a lovely 50-22 from Carreras, just kind of put lovely kind of curve on it to make sure that it went into touch. And then Argentina in decent position. They move off the top of the line out. Albanos with a dink in behind and Marcus Smith gets caught behind his own line. 5 meter attacking scrum. They then truck it up after the scrum. The Lions are eventually caught offside. Albanos extends the lead 14 points to 10. And that was like 1 minute until half time. Argentina then claimed the restart. We're thinking they're just going to get the ball off the field and that's going to be it. It's going to be half time. But they decide to play. They actually get turned over and the Lions then, they move it wide to Van der Merwe, and he spills the ball in contact. Argentina then counter. Lovely interplay between Carreras and Albanos, working their way up the field. Eventually, they get to the cover, and then Albanos is in behind, and he goes over to score, converts his own try. 21 points to 10, halftime lead. Brilliant from them. And a well-deserved halftime lead as well. Argentina definitely looking the better in terms of, ball in hand, but also just that interplay as well is just there. The lines, you can see there's, a lot of effort going in, a lot of kind of individual, skills and stuff, but that kind of link up, even though you have players from the same teams, the same nations, it's still, it's still more difficult to bet that all in. And the Lions, one good thing for them, they were on top in the scrum, but, line out was poor, and, you can see they definitely need time to gel this team together. The Lions then, second half, they worked the ball into 22, off a line out. Cowan Dickey does well initially with a brilliant carry, but then he offloads to an Argentinian, and they can clear. He wasn't the only one that did it. Though, there was a few there. I remember Furlong doing it when he came on later in the half as well. Then good carries from Freeman to Piloto Van der Merwe, brings the Lions, from their own 22 to the edge of the Argentinian 22 before Albanos gets pinged at the breakdown. Lions kick to the corner. They then go to the maul. They're going forward, and they kind of move it right and then sheer off. And it looks like, for all the world, they're going over. Cowan Dickey is in the box seat at the back, but then it comes down just short of the line. Referee immediately awards a penalty try, and Vivas goes to the bin. Then Lions, really trying to take advantage of an extra man, and it's Ellis Genge who goes on a barnstorming run into the heart of the 22. They then go to width, but Argentina have got numbers out there, so then they come back inside, set up a ruck. Then Thomas Williams with just a lovely ball back inside. Byrne delays his run, comes onto it, and just straight through a gap over the score, converted with 24 points to 21, and the Lions are in the lead. From here then, Williams puts Freeman through a gap, and the Lions, getting a bit of momentum now. Marcus Smith with a kick in behind into the 22. Argentina with a pressure throw in, close to their own line, but they do really well with it. They claim it, and then they clear the ball well. Isgro goes up and beats Van der Merwe in the air to reclaim the kick. They then shift the ball to the left, and they're stepping. Was it Toje and maybe Pollock? There was two definitely lines forward, get stepped in the middle anyway, and they work it out to Moroni, who then kicks him behind, and then Cordero wins the race with Marcus Smith to ground the ball. That's converted for 28 points to 24, and Argentina are back in front. The Lions then, they come forward again, probing for a gap. Pollock almost through one. Freeman then tries a chip out wide, but it's marked really well by Albanos. Then we have a good carry from Mac Hansen, brings the Lions into the 22, and they win a penalty or penalty advantage. But the move breaks down, but because Marcus Smith was taken off the ball, we come back for that penalty. They then kick it up the line into 22, with the line out then malfunctions. It goes over the top. Definitely something that they're going to have to sort out there. And then it was weird listening to the commentary team. It just reminds you of the kind of different kind of fan base that watch the Lions compared to, let's say, a URC, Champions Cup, or even Six Nations, because they had to explain at one point that the crowd weren't booing Schoeman when they were going Scoo every time we got the ball. And then also they had to explain what the breakfoot was in the scrum. So you can see, Lions is a chance to bring more people to the game. So it's nice to see that, trying to, keep people interested as well. It's kind of a funny thing, to see that kind of explanation happening, when you have a game kind of at this level. But again, that's the appeal of the lines. You're going to get, not even casual fans. It's like just people who maybe don't watch rugby at all, but are interested in the lines because it's the lines, coming in. So hopefully we can win some some new friends and some new fans over from that as well, who can then, after a year or two, watching the game can get into, the kind of the bread and butter of it, which is, again, your URC, the Premiership, Top 14, Champions Cup, etc. as well. So, I don't mind that kind of stuff. It's just kind of weird to hear it. Then Montoya gets pinged for kicking the ball out of Tomas Williams' hands, and they're just, saying, oh, that he's the captain, and that was a weird one. But then the Lions, or the temporary Lions captain, does something just as bad, not too long after. So the Lions, they go up the line into 22. They force another penalty in the shadows of the post, but then the penalty gets reversed because the Lions now captain, because Itoje is off the field, Byrne, did a neck roll. So, just as bad as Montoya. The Lions then, looks like Argentina are going to try to run the clock down, but then the Lions win a penalty with the clock just about going, about to go into the red for that head contact on Furlong. That said, could have maybe been checked, but again, I can kind of understand why they didn't do it. Furlong does have to go off for an HIA, though. He's replaced by Finlay Bealham, who comes back onto the field. Then Smith kicks to just outside the 22. It was actually from a different penalty, because the Furlong one was a bit further back. They then, feel like they can't make an error at this stage, and Argentina almost home and dry. They just have to see it out. And, the Lions claim the line out, but it's not clean. Argentina, disrupting it, and then able to then push the Lions back. And eventually then, it's Iskro. I think, he strips the ball in a tackle and gets it off the field. And, as I said, famous win for Argentina, big celebrations from them, and absolutely well deserved. Like Argentina, they're one of those teams where if somebody needs to be, knocked over, Argentina are the team to go to. They're so good at beating, teams who, quote unquote, are supposed to be better than them. And they were talking in commentary about the fact that, the last year or so they've beaten the entirety of the top 5 in the world, with save for Ireland. But now they can add the Lions to that list as well. So brilliant win for them. We're going to have a look at the stats, and then we'll come back and talk about each of the teams after that. So let me pull the stats up here first of all. Okay, so first off, it was 3 tries each, but again, I think Argentina were the more dangerous for me in terms of their play. And then, what do we have then? Kicking success, 100% for the Lions, 83% for Argentina. So, decent performance from both kickers. Then in terms of possession, first half, 48% to 52. So Argentina just shading possession in the first half. Big turnaround the second half, though, 69% to 31 in favour of the Lions. And in territory, something similar. The Lions had more territory in the first half, 57 to 43. But, even more, 77 to 23 in the second half. So, again, it just shows you how clinical Argentina were compared to the Lions, given how little territory, especially in that second half that they had. Clean breaks then 6 each. Defenders beaten, 39 for the Lions and 23 for Argentina. So it shows, the Lions less than 1 in 6 defenders being converted into a break, whereas, for Argentina, it was about 1 and 4. So again, just that ability when they got in behind to, to make it matter a lot more compared to the lines. Offloads then 15-6. Rucks then, the lines went at 95% to 93 for Argentina. So fairly decent from both teams. And mauls, both 100% on the mauls. Turnovers conceded 19 from the lines and 20 for Argentina. So ball going back and forward plenty of times. On to set piece then, scrums. The lines with 6 out of 7 for 85%. And Argentina 6 out of 6 for 100%. But for me, lines definitely the better scrum. I think they won 3 scrum penalties in the game. Yeah, and as I said, on their own feed, definitely a bit of a weapon for them. So that was certainly a positive for them. Something not so good, the line out, 14 out of 18. And even when they were winning the ball, too many times it was scrappy and kind of stripped them of momentum. Argentina 7 from 8. And it was funny really with the line out as well that, Cowan-Dickey was on from the start, and, the line out when Kelleher come on, certainly wasn't perfect because he overthrew at least once, maybe twice when he come on as well. But it certainly was a bit more fluid for them with him on at hooker, and that was kind of weird because if you're talking about those two and you want to bring one of them off the bench to kind of show up your line out, every day of the week I'd pick Cowan-Dickey because he's so much better at the set piece generally. And then also, Cowan-Dickey actually offered a lot in the loose as well, which is good to see because again, out of the two, I'd pick Kelleher for his play around the park. But yeah, everyone, is putting a hand up, for those potential slots in the, test 23 already. Then, we'll have a look at the overall. So overall possession was 59-41 and territory 67-33. Onto defense then, lines tackling at 83% and Argentina 82%, which is fairly decent, honestly, for test match level. You're expecting somewhere in the 80s or maybe high 70s. If you get up into kind of the higher 80s, you're doing absolutely brilliantly. On to discipline then. So penalties conceded, 5 for the lines is brilliant. You want to keep that, in single figures. 12 for Argentina, not so good, and especially around that yellow card period as well. That was fairly costly for them. 14 points conceded, including the penalty try during that period. But for me, the Lions, right? Yes, they only conceded 5 penalties, but it felt like, Argentina winning the physical battle, definitely the more aggressive of the two teams. And I would have actually liked to see the Lions, maybe giving away a few more penalties just to kind of G them up a bit almost. It was a bit too passive from them, I felt at times. But again, you got to credit Argentina's play for that. So that's, how things went there. We're going to quickly as well just talk about some of the Lions players before we then, talk about Argentina, because, it's kind of interesting. I think, no kind of test positions are going to be decided after this game. There's obviously certain players who you'd expect are definitely going to play in the test, but nobody has kind of forced their way into 23 on the back of this. But some players certainly have, moved a little bit ahead and others a little bit backwards. So we start with the starting team. So Marcus Smith, a fullback, thought not his best game, honestly. He wasn't offering that much in attack, certainly compared to some of the other players on the field, and a bit iffy in defense as well. Not a disaster from him or anything, but certainly not somebody who, he's someone who you wouldn't see certainly in the test 15 at the minute. And, he wouldn't have kind of put himself forward on this. Tommy Freeman, I thought was superb. For me, kind of definitely one of the standout backs. Sione Tuipulotu, he's been out for a while, but he came back here, like he obviously came back for Glasgow before this, not too many games. So, but, coming into a test arena and really, thought, he was very good in this. Bundia Key as well, there at 12, looking good. Those two can definitely play together, but, whether they're going to play together in a test lineup, I'm not too sure. If you're only picking one at 12, you're probably going to go, at this stage, maybe two Pilotu, but both of them at least showed on this showing that they're not going to disgrace a jersey, whichever one of those you pick at 12. I thought his combination fairly decent. I'm not sure though if they're going to get enough game time together to really form a combination there. Then Duhan van der Merwe, looking somewhat dangerous at times with the ball, but for me, dropped too many balls, got beaten in the air too easily, got stripped on a number of times. Also, he dropped the ball for that winning try. That's not, that's, poor, obviously, but overall, I didn't think he was brilliant. I still think though, if he's fit, because he did have ice on his ankle when he come off. But if he's fit at this stage, he's still going to be starting in the test, I think. Then Finn Smith at 10, I thought was very good. Alex Mitchell, good and bad from him in the game. Then Ellis Genge, some really good work around the park. Very good in the scrum as well. Luke Cowan-Dickey, as I said, not great in the lineup, but very good around the park. Finlay Bealham, I thought, did very well as part of that scrum, and then having to come on there towards the end as well. Maro Itoje, very lively. Gonna be worried though about the line out. Byrne, in the second half when Kelleher come on, he claimed a few lineouts for them just to kind of steady the ship as well. Looked good in the loose too. Tom Curry, very competitive at the breakdown. I thought, in terms of though, carrying and stuff like that, not really his best game. Jack Morgan had kind of flashes, but want to see more of him, honestly. Ben Earl, I was a little bit disappointed with. I love that guy in terms of his carries, and we just didn't see enough of it in this game, really. Replacements then, as I said, Kelleher did well coming off the bench in terms of, contributing to the line out and also around the park. Schumann, looked lively off the bench. Furlong, come on, some nice touches. But then, as I said, offloaded to an Argentinian and then had to come off for a head knock. Cummings, come on towards the end, and, he did okay, but still have to see a bit more from him. Henry Pollock, some decent, I think he turned the ball over a couple of times, some decent kind of half breaks as well from him as well. Tomas Williams, very impressed with him at 9 when he come on. I thought he added a bit more zip to the play. Elliot Daly, safe pair of hands off the bench. Then Mac Hansen as well, kind of a bit elusive, running wise. One thing, from the point of view with him is sometimes runs away from support a bit too much. So that's kind of my overall thought, or my thoughts on the players. But overall, for the Lions, definitely a long way to go for them. But now let's talk about Argentina. I thought, their kicking game was excellent. If we look actually at, I think on the stats it actually has, kicks. I saw them somewhere. Oh yeah, here we are. So, kicks from hand, 23 from the Lions, 33 from Argentina. And then in terms of passes and runs, 233 to 106 and 150 to 94. So the Lions were keeping the ball in hand more often, kicking less. Argentina kicking more. But again, if you look at that game, Argentina were the team who looked more exciting with the ball in hand. And again, it comes back to the whole thing of having a good kicking strategy gets you in those positions. And we saw them very competitive in the air, especially against, taller, bigger men. I don't like, of the Lions, two wingers, starting wingers, Top Freeman, certainly better in the air than Van der Merwe. But any of the, Argentinian back three, really up there, winning the ball, disrupting as well, even when the Lions got it, it was scrappy a lot of the time as well. And that kind of gave them good pictures around the field in terms of moving that Lions defense around. I thought, they used the kicking game very well to kind of get the Lions in certain positions that they then could exploit, either going through the middle or going to width as well after they've moved the back three around. In terms of then meters made, Lions 509 to 345 for Argentina. But again, the Lions are making the meters, but there just wasn't that connectivity there to actually, turn good carries or breaks into scores, whereas Argentina had that in spades. And, just the understanding between the players, excellent. And also just that whole thing of, when there's a potential break on players, the Argentinian players, they're gambling and making sure that they're going to be there in support rather than kind of, staying back and trying to cover in case, things break down or wherever. So, excellent from them. I thought, their defense at times was very good as well. Denying the Lions, very good disrupting the Lions line out as well. You've got to give a lot of credit to them for that too. As I said, maybe the Lions had the nudge in the scrum and got those 3 penalties, but Argentina on their own feed, generally, things were pretty okay, pretty solid for them. And, again, just game management, I thought was so much better from them. And then just that aggression in defense and that ability as well to transition from defense into attack, and also just no fear of spreading the ball in their own 22, wherever, they trust their skills and they delivered for them in this as well. So brilliant win for Argentina, and, a lot of work for those Lions coaches to do to get, whatever 23, rock up for the first test ready for that game against Australia.